Hello everybody. First of all, I want to thank you for joining me in this demo that I want to show you so you get more or less an idea. This is a canvas, and the measurements is 12 by 9. 12 by 9. So you don't have to use that size, but just so you have an idea of what we're doing here. All right, so here's my napkin one, and I've squirted it. It's a very warm day today, so one of the things that I like to do is to also spritz the back. That helps to keep your canvas moist and your acrylic paints moist for a longer time, which is very helpful. So that one of the drawbacks of acrylic painting is that the paint can dry very fast. So that's a little help right there. Okay, so also I do it from moist in the front just with clear water. It's all right if there's a little paint stain going on, don't worry. Just painting it. Now most of the painting on this particular study is going to be in the blues, the cool blues. So although most of the time when I paint, I do like to paint on a toned canvas, this is going to be our first. It's almost like that because this is, see, it's mostly blue. So I did that on purpose to kind of simplify. I want the approach is going to be blocking in our painting first, our main shapes, which is not very many. It's just this one here, see, and that. So other than that, it's just blues and lavenders. So after I blocked everything and I show you how to do the blending and that, then we're going to stop and let things dry, and then I'll be doing another video on how to add the more detail. A lot of beginning students, what they get into trouble is that you're starting to do detail, little flowers and little stairs and the little branches, and that's a mistake. You will get to do that detail later in the painting, but at first let's keep it very simple, and most importantly, let's have fun with it. And I'm convinced, I know that you can all do this. Okay, so the main colors are going to be our primaries. I have here ultramarine blue, I have white, quite a bit of white. It's not a primary. That's the absence of color, but it's very useful in painting too. Now this one is called it's raw umber. You can also use a Van Dyke brown if you don't have the raw umber. It's the same thing, it's just has a different name. So at this point we're actually not going to need the yellow, but we will need the red. Actually we will need, this is it's a cool red. It's called Permanent Rose. If you have Alycerin Crimson, that's perfect. That's just as good for this purpose. we are going to need some yellow ochre. So there's our primary colors. So I'm trying to keep everything as simple as possible. And so I want to repeat again, this, you want to have your napkins ready, paper towels, to, an old rag or something, anything like that, but it's very important to have close to you. All right, so now I am going to mix in this area. Oh, by the way, I took a photograph of this when I went to my nephew's wedding last year, and it's Laguna Beach. It's Crescent Bay. So when I saw it, I thought it was so beautiful, and I thought it looked like a painting. So think about that. Whenever you see something and you think, oh, it gives you an emotional reaction, then it's a pretty good idea. It's that you should take a photo of it if possible, and get to it, later on, because that's when we'll stick to a project with more patience and longer if it's something that you're excited about. All right, so we're going to keep it. Here's the white, and usually you can use either your brush, or it's a good idea to use your palette knife to mix your paints. So whatever you're comfortable with is fine. So you just mix it like this. All right, so here we go. I think we're going to need a little more. It's a good thing to remember. You don't really want to split your painting in half. So I went a little bit lower than half. And then it's okay because it's broken up. This one's lower than this. This one is higher. See, so that's going to work out. Okay. When you're doing a painting that's got a large surface, it's a good idea to use, always try to use the largest brush that you feel comfortable with. You don't want to do the background with a tiny little brush, especially acrylics, because you need to smooth your brush strokes. And see, I'm doing long sweeping strokes, and at some point you're gonna notice some lines. And so what you want to do then is do cross hatching like this. As long as you have some moisture in your paint, you're fine. You'll be able to just move this around however way you feel you need. So there we go. At this point, you can do we're gonna do some clouds, but you can do them later also. Let's get through the whole canvas first. All right, so now the next step will be right here, which is some mountains in the back. And don't worry, I will send you. You're gonna have a copy of this. I'm gonna send it to you so that you can print it out and paint it. All right, so now if you notice I got a little thing here that I can smooth out. If you notice, the mountains back here are a violet, kind of like a dull violet color, which is wonderful because that gives you an idea that That's far out in the distance. A bit of a muted violet. Okay, so in order to do that, you need to add a little bit of the raw umber. That tones it down. A little bit of the cool Alizarin Crimson or Permanent Rose, and then we're going to test it here and see. Yep, that's pretty much. And that's how you can tell. See, if I lose it's pretty close. You bring it right up against your painting. Although I just noticed it's just perfect, but I actually want a little bit more white in there because remember it's an acrylic paint and it will get darker. Now it is a mountain, so it is a good idea. You can get a little movement, so it doesn't have to be super straight. It's more organic looking if you have a little hump here and there. But I do like color. I like color, so I'm going to exaggerate my violet to have a little more just because it's fun. That's what we get to do as an artist. You have the license to enhance things a little more. Besides, that's how I remember it. Sometimes with the photography, sometimes you don't capture exactly how you saw the colors. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, now the water is usually, I think of it as a mirror. So I'd like to stay in the vicinity, have some of that color that's in the sky also in the water. So I'm going to continue with the same color. And if one thing you want to notice is that there's a difference in value. So it's lighter than where the water line starts. So then we're going to go like this, make this a little bit darker. Now I love ultramarine blue, but also you think you could do this in whatever, if there's other blue that you like, a little more turquoisey, you can use, add a little phthalo green to it. So now, and I do love the square shaders when I'm trying to do paintings that have quite a lot of some edges to them. See, because you can just get a straight line. Okay, so now, see, now although there is some foliage in here, like right in there, at this point I don't worry about that. That's going to be, think of that as like you're toning your canvas. You're getting rid of that white. Okay, and then after you block in the main shapes, and you can come back and add the foliage, flowers, people, anything that you want. But at each step, have fun with it. once in a while you may need to come in here and give a little spritz, just a little bit, just to keep your paints in good working order. Okay, so now at this point I notice that I'm going to introduce another color, which is going to give me a little bit of that turquoisey, and that is phthalo green. Now this is not, you don't have to do that. You'll be fine, but without it. But it adds a little bit to that, especially to the painting, especially right here where it's going to be closer to the viewer. To you, the color changes a tiny bit. So it's not as, there's a lot more turquoise in here. So while I still have the paint cooperating, might as well get that turquoise in there. All right, so there it is. Now I'm gonna get rid of those lines by just cross-hatching a little bit. Okay, so that's the blues. Now I'm going to start on with the yellow ochre and white to get that sand going. So here is my yellow ochre and white, so it's not too bright. Okay, so I'm just come in like this. Okay, so I think that's about it. That is going to be enough for the first go on this. There's a lot of white canvas showing there, so I want to cover that up. Now, the main purpose right now, what you want to do in your when you're first blocking it in, is you want to make sure that you don't have any white canvas left. Okay, so this is basically our underpainting, and okay, so no white canvas, and it's easy shapes, and hopefully you can just get this done, have fun with it, and come back so that we can go on to the second stage. All right, thank you so much. Bye.
So you're going to get all that audio.